Can IoT change agricultural productivity? Can IoT make a positive impact on the agricultural yield? How will the farm of the future look like? These are precisely the questions that we will try to answer in this session on smart farming. Before dealing into the solutions for agriculture, let us try to understand the scenario of agriculture in the Indian context. India got its independence in 1947, and we have been collecting information about the different sectors, namely agriculture, industry or manufacturing, and services since 1951. And if we look at the history of about 65 years, we will see that the share of manufacturing, which was about 14% in 1950, is roughly 25% in 2015, and it stays there. Services, which was about 33-34%, has increased to almost 60%. Agriculture, which was more than 50% contributor to GDP, is now about 17 to 18%. 17% of the GDP comes from agriculture. And what is GDP? It is the income generating capacity of a nation. You are aware that 70% of India's population or more depends on agriculture and agricultural related services. 70%. And how much are they contributing to the income of the nation? Only 17%. You can imagine that this leads to a rising socio-economic problems for the farmer. Too many farmers and farming related services, and very little of the income being generated through their activity. There are bound to be socio-economic problems in this country. This is not it. There are several other problems that are plaguing the Indian agricultural ecosystem. India today has one of the lowest farm yields in the entire world. And what do we mean by an yield? Yield is the amount of crop grown per hectare of land. And India has one of the lowest yields across the globe. This is the context. More than 70% of the population depending on agriculture. Agriculture contributing less than 20% of the GDP. On top of that, India has one of the lowest yields. To compound this problem, land is subjected to the law of diminishing returns. This means that every year the fertility of the soil will reduce. The output that you get from the soil will reduce. If this year in an hectare, if you had 100 tons of a crop, next year you would have less than 100 tons. The year after that you would have still lesser. This is what you mean by the law of diminishing returns. The population of India and the globe is increasing. Land is subjected to diminishing returns. India has the lowest yields. How are we going to feed the growing population if the agricultural scenario is not looking great? These are the basic problems facing the Indian agriculture. And I'm sure many countries across the world, the developing countries or the poor countries, are facing a similar scenario. If I look at this scenario, it's very easy to be a pessimist and say that things are just going downhill. But I tend to look at the positive side. If India has the lowest yield in the world, the only way we can move is upward. IoT has the capacity to change a lot for Indian agriculture. IoT can help increase the yield, that is, the output in a given area of land. And if yield is increased, eventually agriculture's contribution to GDP will increase. Temporarily, we will be overcoming the law of diminishing returns. And the food supply crisis due to the growing population can also be tackled. So if I look at all the problems of agriculture, if technology can help increase the yield, more or less, the problems of agriculture can be tackled head on. This is where IoT can play a big role in changing the fortunes of Indian agriculture and agriculture scenario in many parts of this world. There are many use cases of IoT in agriculture called precision agricultural techniques. But before discussing any of these, let us try to understand some basics about agriculture. The soil which is used for farming consists of nutrients. There are three major nutrients known as macronutrients: N, P, and K. N stands for nitrogen, P for phosphorus, and K for potassium. The level of NPK in a soil determines how much of the nutrients will be available to the crop while it is growing, and thus determines the yield of the crop. Hence, if you want a better yield, you have to ensure that you match the crop with the NPK of the soil. So that brings us to the first use case, which is soil monitoring and alarms that go with soil monitoring. So when you monitor and test the soil on continuous real-time basis, you are monitoring the NPK and thus the fertility of the soil. And your endeavor is to get the best crop for that NPK so that it can grow with ease in that soil. Similarly, you will have smart fertilizer application. If you plant something in the soil and it is not getting enough nutrients, you need to add fertilizers. Smart fertilizer application will tell you precisely the NPK ratio that the fertilizer should have to ensure that you have a higher yield. Soil monitoring and smart fertilizer go hand in hand. You can do field monitoring, especially to understand whether there are pests that are growing. You can have cameras do image capturing to understand the growth rate of pests or insects in your farm. You can have acoustic sensors because each insect or pest emits a certain sound. If the intensity of the sound increases, you can be sure that there is an epidemic coming soon and you can take preventive measures. With the field monitoring, you can have an insecticide and pesticide automation application so that the right amount of pesticide is mixed with water and sprayed on the plants or the crop as soon as the pesticide is detected. You can have weather monitoring applications. You cannot fight nature, but at least you can be prepared for them. You can do a lot of predictive analytics with weather forecast and be prepared for any natural calamity or disaster that you may be facing in the near future. Many farmers across the world use smart irrigation or the automated drip water irrigation in their farms. So the water just does not keep dripping on the farms in a continuous manner. There are moisture sensors which determine whether a piece of farm actually needs more water, and only those holes of the drip water irrigation system are activated where the soil needs some more water, else these holes get deactivated. So these are some of the use cases of precision agriculture that we see, and the focus or the objective of each of these use cases is to increase the yield of crop, because we have seen that if we tackle the problem of yield, most of the other problems can be tackled directly. There are some use cases which are not directly related to farming, but they are more related to the ecosystem of agriculture. Hence, they are called connected agricultural use cases. The tractors or the equipment that farmers use have sensors. It is exactly similar to the predictive analytics that we spoke of when we were speaking about product as a service. A tractor is a very important machinery for a farmer. If the tractor breaks down, the farming stops. It is important for a farmer to know if the tractor is about to fail. Predictive analysis can help us with that. Not just with the tractor or other vehicles, but also with the agricultural equipment that is used in farms. If these machines do not work, it's a loss to the farmer. Predictive analytics can help us ensure that the vehicles, the tractors, the equipment are well serviced and ready to use. With a lot of connectivity, agricultural markets and governments are getting more and more connected to each other. This is helping in policy making and giving the farmers a good rate for their crops. One of the important use cases of connected agriculture is the use case of connected livestock, connected cows, the internet of bees, and prawn farming. Let's talk about these one by one. The first use case is that of the connected cow. If you ever visit the rural side in the country, you will notice that almost every house in the village has at least one cow. The cow is a very integral member of the family. The cow is not only having an emotional attachment with the family, but is also the source of lot of an economic activity for the farmer. There are many things that the cow gives to the farmer or to the family, but there are two which have a direct impact on the economic condition of the family to which the cow belongs. The cow gives milk. The normal scenario is such that the family milks the cow. Whatever milk is needed for the family is kept, and the rest of the milk is sold to some vendor in the village who collects milk from all the cows from all the families. Now, when the farmer goes to sell milk, he is paid not on quantity but on the fat content. It is essential for the farmer that the cow gives high fat milk so that he gets good money for the milk. And when will the cow give high fat milk? When it is fed well, when it is healthy, when it doesn't fall sick. Under these scenarios, the cow gives high fat milk, which allows the farmer to get a better rate for the milk. The second important economic contribution that the cow makes is during the heating or the gestation. If a farmer has to buy a cow will cost $1,000 and upwards in India. A good cow will fetch anything between $1,500 to $2,000. So when a cow gives birth to a calf, she is making a direct economic contribution to the family. If the calf is healthy, the value is $1,500. And the gestation period of the cow is somewhere between 12 to 15 months. So if you take good care of the cow, in about a year and a half, you will have another calf. Whether it is a cow or a bull, you still fetch good amount if you want to sell it. So one cow becomes 2 in a year and a half. The 2 become 4 in 3 years. The 4 become 8 in 4.5 years. And 8 becomes 16 in 6 years. The power of compounding with cows is really powerful. No other investment in the entire world can give you the kind of returns that the cow gives you. Hence, for a farmer, if he really takes care of his cow, he can get out of his financial troubles pretty easily. But for that, he needs to ensure that the cow is taken well care of. Hence the concept of connected cow. You attach sensors to the cow. You monitor the health of the cow in real time, every day, every hour, every minute. If something is going to happen to the cow, you know about it before it happens. You ensure that the cow is taken well care of. It is given the right medication. When the cow is healthy, it will give good milk. If the cow is healthy, the heating will go well and the birth of the calf will take place in a normal way. So similarly to the connected healthcare scenario, here you will have sensor fitted to the cow. It will capture the data about the cow, send it to the cloud. It will get analyzed. Insights will be generated, which will be shared with the farmer and to the vet who takes care of the cow. Now there are different mechanisms in which you can have a connected cow use case. The first use case is like an intrusive device where a portion of the sensor is inserted into the cow and the parameters of the blood are monitored and the data is sent to the cloud. You can see a picture of that here. There are another type of sensors. They are more like fit bands. They are collars for the cow. They gauge the health of the cow from the sweat and other external features of the cow. And once this data is captured, it is sent to the cloud. You can see a picture of that here as well. Either ways, the objective is to get as much information about the cow so that it can be kept healthy and fine. Ultimately, you want the cow to add to your economic prosperity. Let us have a look at a video of a company which has created such a sensor for the cow and how they plan to make this use case a valuable use case for the farmers of the world.
Inspiration can strike anywhere, even in the most unlikely of places. A few years ago, I was staring outside my window, watching the neighbor's cow graze the land. I joked about strapping a sensor on a dairy cow and learning what it does all day. It turned out productivity is a real issue for farmers. There are 1.5 billion cows on the planet, and the milk they produce is a major staple of many diets. It is a fact. By 2050, there will be over 9 billion people on the planet, and food production needs to increase by 60% to sustain that. So how are we going to feed everyone? I got working with an old friend of mine on a device that became the Fitbit for cows. Using complex mathematics that is the basis of artificial intelligence, we're teaching our algorithms the behavior of cows. For example, we can detect problems of eating and feeding disorders. We can know when is the best time to get a cow pregnant. But farmers don't want data. They don't want to become analysts. They want to know what has gone wrong, why it happened, and what they should do about it. I believe in a future world where sensors and artificial intelligence will be ubiquitous, helping us solve some of the fundamental problems we face today.
The next use case is that of prawn farming. Many people around the world farm for prawns in an artificial pond. The thing to note here is that prawns fetch a good price when they grow big. Smaller prawns do not get a good price for themselves. And prawns will grow big only if they are taken care of and if they are made to feel as if they are at home. And this can be done with IoT. There are many products and solutions which aim to enhance the size of the prawn when they are being farmed in an artificial setup. These products do both monitoring and control. They monitor the water in the pond for the nutrients, whether sufficient amount of nutrients is being made available to the prawns. And they monitor the water in the pond for the temperature, because the prawns can thrive if the temperature is maintained within a certain threshold. Along with monitoring, such products and solutions also control the water in the pond. They have a heating mechanism in case the temperature needs to be taken a few degrees up. They can ensure that the entire pond, the temperature can rise by a certain degree. And they also have dispensers. So if there are certain nutrients which are not being made available to the prawns, or the water is deficient of those nutrients, the dispenser will release those nutrients into the water. So what we are seeing here is that the water is maintained at levels in which the prawns will feel comfortable growing, and they will grow to big sizes. IoT is a powerful use case in prawn farming. The next use case is of bees. Bees provide a lot of economic value to the bee farmers. Using sensors, one can monitor and control the activities of the bee and enhance their activities such that the bee farmers get maximum return on investment. Let us look at one such video where a product company is trying to use sensors in a bid to enhance the economic value of the bees for the farmer.
Bees are dying. In the last year, beekeepers lost 42% of their colonies, and that was not a single-time event. In addition to other problems, bees can be affected by low temperatures, diseases and parasites, or other animals like wasps or bears. Naturally, to beekeepers, it may not be so simple to constantly watch their bees. The hives can be far from each other or together but apart from the caregivers. Besides that, current hives require regular checks and are dangerously vulnerable to extreme temperatures, and that can easily kill swarms, what is relatively expensive. And we can't allow that. That's why Apis designed a technology that is suitable to all hives and allows beekeepers to remotely monitor them in real time. The system enables caregivers to control bees' flow, assess the amount of honey they produce, even before the harvest, and receive alerts when their colonies need more space or to be provided with more food. Apis monitoring system allows beekeepers to check the geographic position of their beehives and keep a digital log of every inspection and maintenance of each colony. When the integrity of a colony is threatened by an animal, by low temperature, or factors, its owner will be alerted by message. In addition, you can buy the Apis beehive. It is built with our patented construction technique, an exclusive elastic cork-based ink and support wings that make it 50% thermally more efficient, more comfortable, and durable. Apis's products will not only improve bees' performance, as they will also make beekeeping easier, reliable, and more sustainable for the environment.
There was a survey done in 2017 by Mint, which said that technology-based applications in Indian agriculture can have an economic impact of 45 to 80 billion US dollars annually by 2025. And that amount is really a huge amount. A majority of that impact will come from IoT-based use cases. And once that happens, yields will go up, farmer incomes will go up, and more or less agricultural issues can be tackled in the right manner. So what does the farm of the future look like? You will have smart tractors with GPS controlled steering and optimized route planning so that there is very minimal soil erosion, and then saving fuel cost by at least 10%. This will ensure that the yield goes up. You will have a fleet of agribots, agricultural robots, who will do a lot of seeding, fertilizing, and harvesting activities. They will ensure that the input cost to farming go down by at least 70 to 80%. You will have drones that fly over the fields. Their job will be to monitor the soil, the pest, the weeds. They will ensure that the pests do not destroy the crops. They will also keep track of natural factors like wind, air, and rain. It is expected that the drones will increase the yield by 2 to 5%. You will have cows who are texting information about themselves. Cows, as we all know, are very integral in the life of a farmer. And the farmer of tomorrow will be sitting in front of his computer, looking at all the data, the analysis of the data, and making farming decisions in front of the computer. This is how the farm of the future will look like.